Is it fair to criticize a player who's captaining a team where he is the leading run scorer of the tournament, and yet the team is at the lowest of lows on the points table? That and many more questions about this Multan Sultans versus QG game. With me, as always, my brother, my co-host, Bashar Syed. Bashar, welcome back to Back to the Point.
Thank you for having me. This is incredible because Ali Tareen wanted something very different from PSL 10. He mentioned that how will this PSL be the biggest PSL in history when it's the same teams, same grounds, pretty much the same personnel. But the one thing that's changed is that Multan Sultans, the most successful team in the PSL with respect to win percentage, and the fact that they made the last 4 finals, won one of them, are now at the bottom of the table. And their captain is on the top of the table with respect to most runs.
I'm telling you, man, the one thing that's changed is that Multan is not going to play a final this season. That's a fact.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, they're eliminated. They're gone. There's no way. Like, you were trying to predict in the previous PSL dailies that, hey, you know what? They're going to be on a run. The next 4 games are at home. They can go on a 4-game run and then suddenly be in the center of the table. And I was looking at you like how the Indian fans were looking at me when I said that India's not going to make the semifinals. Incredulous looks at you. And here we are, bottom of the table, Multan Sultans. What do you have to say for yourself?
Look, I want to apologize on behalf of Multan Sultans and Ali Tareen. This is not the result that we predicted. I think the best you can do is try your best, have a good squad. And what I feel like Multan just hasn't found the right combination yet. They keep mixing and matching and bringing players in and out. And I also feel like they haven't really backed the right players yet for a long term. Like Ashton Turner comes in for a few games, goes out. Shea Hope is opening, then he's going middle order. Pacers aren't really defined. Chris Jordan is playing some games and he's out. So I feel like they have a problem of too many and they haven't been able to lock down the right combination. And from what I heard from previous conversations of Ali Tareen and Rizwan's post-match conferences, that Multan goes to the ground with specific plans, but aside from a few players, the rest aren't executing their game plans in the actual match.
All right, speaking of execution, you know who's executing their best transfer rates in North America?
Who?
Sendwave.
I just used Sendwave today. And I had to send X dollars to Pakistan. But I sent X dollars minus 10 because I used to score the code SCOREPK and I got $10 towards my first transfer. And because it was my first transfer, I also got a very competitive rate.
That's right. You guys heard it here first. If you're sending money for the first time, Sendwave is offering an amazing exchange rate of 288 PKR per USD for transfers over $100 from the US to Pakistan as of today. Bashar, did you send over 100 USD?
I did.
There we go. That's why you got the promotional rates that you did. I know many of you are already using a specific platform. Many of our listeners already are, and it's tough to move over. It's a hassle. We understand that. We did this hassle on our own. But to make it easier on you guys, like Bashar said, use the code SCOREPK and get $10 off of your first transfer with the competitive rates. With the $10 off, you're basically saving money.
No transfer fees.
No transfer fees. They, Sendwave they makes their money off of their exchange rates. It's great. Even if you don't want to send money right now, you can test it out with just $1. The exchange rate will vary from smaller amounts, but you'll still get the $10 free credit, and you can surprise someone with a little gift for their birthday or whatever. You're sending money home. Who cares? Give it a try. Let us know and let Sendwave know that we sent you by using the code SCOREPK.
What the hell happened today?
Man, I don't know. I mean,
because if you look at both innings just individually, they tell very drastically different stories. You look at Multan's innings, they're 8 and 9 all out, couldn't even bat the whole 20 overs. And it looks like they were batting on a different pitch versus Quetta, who chased their 90 in less than 7 overs. This is the biggest victory in the history of the PSL with respect to balls remaining in the match.
That's crazy. I'll be honest with you. I glazed over this game. I was not paying full attention to this. This was the first game that I was in and out because I knew this was going to happen. There was no incentive for me or the Lahori crowd, to be fair to them as well, because nobody showed up, is that this is a team that's on the downturn. Rizwan, let's be honest, has not been in in the brightest of numbers in the press recently. Pakistan is coming back from a first round exit at a home tournament merely a couple months ago. Rizwan is the captain of that. Many think that he should not be in the T20s team at all, or any T20 team for that matter. And there are negative sentiments when it comes to Mohammad Rizwan. That's just a fact. Like, we've been accused of being anti-Rizwan haters. It's just the fact that if you are following Pakistan cricket for as long as we have and as deeply as we have, you understand there are cracks to the system. And one of the cracks Mohammad Rizwan finds himself in.
I can't believe you're roasting Rizwan, bro. Today he was the highest run scorer. The man carried his bat through.
Bashar, he's been scoring runs and I've been roasting him because I think his runs at the end of the day mean nothing.
He's the highest run scorer of the PSL. I can't believe you're criticizing the guy who is wearing the Hanif Muhammad cap.
At what cost? At what cost, Bashar? At the cost of his team being at the bottom of the table?
So are you implying that Rizwan is scoring runs just for himself and his team as a result is at the bottom of the table?
Look, this game is not a representation of the PSL. Yes, he was the top scorer here and he needed to hold one end because the wickets were tumbling like flies from the other end. But that's not been the case the entire tournament. There was a game where he scored a century and Multan lost. Explain that to me.
I heard the commentators mention that this match happened on an Australian soil pitch.
I've been hearing Australian soil too much, Bashar, especially from
Can you confirm that?
How can I confirm that?
I heard the commentator speak about it. So
I'm going to message Tony Hemmings right now.
Going by what Ramiz was talking about at the beginning of the match, this is an Australian soil pitch. This is why we saw some extra bounce, swing, seam, carry. And it seemed like it was a combination of good bowling from Quetta with respect to just their lines and lengths. Specifically, Khurram Shahzad, who was bowling that perfect test match length.
2 overs, 10 runs, 4 wickets in his first couple.
Dude, we have been talking about Khurram Shahzad on this podcast as the Desi Dale Steyn. And today it looked like it was not Khurram Shahzad, but it was prime Dale Steyn.
This is the most Steyn he's ever looked like. I agree with that. The ball was zipping, swinging, nipping. It was doing everything that it should not be doing in Lahore, but it was doing it for him. And honestly, 2 overs, 10 runs, and 4 wickets in your first spell, insane. Like, any captain would take that.
Some of the shots that the Multan batters hit were irresponsible. Questionable. Like, you're coming down the track and trying to go over the top on a pitch that you're not really understanding what's happening here. The funniest, however, to me is Iftikhar Ahmed, because he recently came out saying that he wants to bat higher up the order. He wants to go in around the 10th over mark and build his innings, get his eye in, and play his shots because he thinks he's a top-level international player. And Multan has been using him as a last 5 overs pace basher. And I think in the 5 matches before this, he's only batted 3 times. So there were 2 matches where he didn't even bat, and he's Multan's platinum pick. So this match, he comes in early on and scores 6 off 14.
Sure, everybody who's wronged backward point finds themselves at a loss in their respective careers.
But Iftikhar has never been on backward point.
He's wronged us, Bashar.
Oh, he's wronged us.
That's what I said. What did you hear?
On backward point.
No. The people who wronged us have found their careers in a downward slump. I'm not saying
what did Rizwan do?
Rizwan also denied to be on the podcast, if you remember. We didn't ask, actually.
We didn't ask.
Rizwan was a genuinely good guy. I mean, I personally have nothing against Rizwan. Rizwan is a class act off the field as well. I just don't think he's a T20. I don't think he should be in a T20 team. In a T20 team. In any T20 team. I think we've talked about this, and maybe after the PSL, when we reflect, we can have that conversation in depth on why Rizwan is not the reason, is the main reason that Multan is on the bottom of the table, but I reckon he's one of the reasons for sure.
What I like about...
But sorry, to come back on the Iftikhar point, Iftikhar is not doing himself any favors by going into the press and laying out his case in front of the media, and then when given the opportunity, not producing results. This was a tailor-made situation. If he had gone in there, made like a 35 ball 50 even, this game would have been a bit more competitive. Maybe they would have gone to 120, 130, made a fight out of it. But him succumbing to the way that he did to, who was it? Fahim Ashraf?
It was a length ball, tried to heave it for 6. And Iftikhar actually, he's played in Australia. He's had a couple of tours to Australia, and you would assume,
including
knows how to, including a World Cup. You would assume he knows how to tackle these conditions, and him being an experienced pro at the international level, you would think you could just convert those skill sets to this match. But he looked clueless. Rizwan was left a lone man on one end, and he just kept seeing the wickets fall on the other end. What can you say?
I think the Rizwan is like the 10th or 9th batter to play the entire innings out in a T20 match. I believe I read this on Mazhar Arshad's Twitter channel. You guys can fact check me on this. There's only been 9 instances when this has happened. This is the first time in the PSL that's ever happened where a
Didn't
batsman.
Saud Shakil also carry his bat when we were like, what the hell is Saud Shakil doing?
No, I don't think
he wanted to go not out.
The team didn't go all out in that situation. In this
Okay.
situation, the team went all out. He carried the bat throughout the innings. And this is, I believe, the 9th or 10th time this happened, first time in the PSL. I want to really quickly go through Bracewell.
Okay. Wow. Random.
No, it's not random. I'll tell you why. This is the Bracewell's last 7 results for Quetta. 44, 16,
Multan.
3. Yeah, my bad. 44, 16, 3, 9, 9. Did not bat against Qalandars, 0.
And there was a lot of hype around picking Bracewell.
He's a bust. He didn't play this tournament at all for Sultans. So yeah, the onus does not all fall on Multan, but so all fall on Rizwan, but he doesn't have key players playing for him the way that he should. Like, is this the numbers that you want from your foreign pick who's gone platinum? Come on, Bracewell. Like, you gotta put in the effort to win these games. I know it's PSL, it's not the IPL, and people are like, comparing apples to oranges at this point, but it's still a very competitive league, and you can't just half-ass it. And I believe that Bracewell didn't show up for Sultans, and Sultans that's one of the reasons that they're on the bottom of the table. There's not been a single match-winning performance from him at all.
I also feel like they've been relying too much on David Willey, who I just think he's at the tail end of his career. And I'm not sure if he has a lot to offer. Like, yes, he did get Babar Azam out in the game against Zilmi. But aside from that, he's just been looked very predictable. And he's bowling just around that 130 kilometers mark. I don't see a lot that he's had to offer for Multan. And even him batting at number 7, I think is too early for him because I don't really rate him as a good batter. In the PSL, I think his strike rate is like 95.
I mean, you're absolutely right. David Willey. I mean, it's not just the David Willey situation of it all. I think, a lot of this tournament has been settled at the draft, Char. Like, you and I have talked about how the Zenmi draft was quite bad. That's why they're second last on the table. I don't think Ali Tareen and co did much digging into how they could have improved their team post draft.
Well, they made a draft documentary.
That doesn't mean anything.
2-part.
That doesn't mean anything to me. I know you're trying to pull their legs, but that doesn't mean anything to me because teams who actually worked hard on the draft are sitting at the top of the table, like untouched. And that's the sort of mindset that needs to carry over to the rest of the franchises. The rest of the franchises are doing a DIY method of just running this league and running this team or their respective teams. That's not how it works, man.
So you're saying if you put a little bit of effort towards your planning.
Just a wee bit. And you know what else can happen? Maybe your coach can be the national coach as well in a situation like that. I say no more. But the news and rumors are out that Mike Hesson is on his way to the national duty for Pakistan with lots of asterisks in his contract. And you better get a good lawyer, Mikey, coach. I really like this is. We'll probably do a separate episode on that once the news is official and we have more details on what the contract and details look like. But at the moment, it sounds like Islamabad United cannot do anything wrong. Not only that, they have Shadab Khan. They made Salman Aliaga into a T20 player so good that the national team wants him. They're probably going to fix Naseem Shah as well, by the way. I think you'll see a resurgence of Naseem Shah back in the T20 squad. Whatever they're doing, they made Azam Khan into a PSL winning wicketkeeper. Islamabad did that. Where every other franchise, every other team wanted to shun him. Islamabad finds some utility from Azam Khan.
I still think there's a demand for Azam in the PSL.
Fair enough. But Islamabad was the one who used him the best. He was with Quetta as well. But what Islamabad has done with him, I don't think any franchise has done with him, not even the national team. They're doing something right. That's the model that the rest of the 6 teams or the 5 teams right now should follow. Otherwise, they're going to be left so far behind, Bashar. We're going to be seeing a dynasty in the Islamabad United team for the next couple of years, and it's going to get boring. Maybe a larger conversation to have right now, near the middle tail end of this conversation is, because this game there's nothing to talk about here. So far, we're somewhere halfway, 2/3 of the way into the PSL. Let's reflect a little bit. How competitive has this PSL been? And how entertaining has this PSL been to you?
Not much. I think probably one of the most boring PSLs so far.
Extreme letdown. Why?
So the game's been one-sided.
Why?
There's a disbalance between the competitiveness.
Thank you. There are some teams in here that should not even be in this league. They should be.
Islamabad looks OP.
They look OP because they've been clicking at all the right areas at max capacity without breaking a sweat somehow. It's a conundrum how they're
And
doing
without
this.
like their platinum player, Matt Short, getting injured.
Yeah, and at the same
RVD not being there.
But at the same time, Bashar, you have star key players that have multiple ads running during the PSL. I'm talking about the Babar Azam, the Rizwans. Who else is running ads right now? Like everybody's in the Naseem Shah is in a lot of ads right now. Not performing. Virat Kohli right now in the IPL across the border there, one of the top run getters of the IPL right now. RCB is like on the top of the table. Correct? That value keeps getting higher and higher because they have class players there. Right now, it's looking tough for the PSL because A, your class players are not performing, and B, the games are not competitive. Not a single game that's been a nail biter so far.
I wanted to push back just on your fact that this might get like Islamabad might make it dynasty, just because if they add 2 more years, 2 more teams to the PSL next year, then teams this year will have a lesser amount of players to retain.
Okay.
So I think this year they retained 8 players. Next year it might be 6 players that they retain. So they might not even have like a solid core group of players that they can retain in terms of like foreign or local players.
That's fine, bro. If the management stays, if Rehan Bhai stays, if Coach Hessen stays, they'll find another way to win. That's how good their management style is. And I'll tell you one thing. I know one thing that always stays. Yashi Sports.
Canada's home of cricket.
That was smooth, wasn't it?
Oh, it's very good.
I'm learning from you. I'm learning from the best.
Respects.
I'm learning from the best. Please continue.
Dude, Canada's home of cricket is Yashi Sports, and Yashi Sports is Canada's home of cricket. If you are in North America looking to buy cricket equipment, Yashi Sports is your go-to spot. You can go to yashisports.com and pick from a wide variety of cricketing equipment, from bats, gloves, helmets. If you go to Yashi Sports in person, you are able to get their expert advice that we guarantee that you will get, that we personally have gotten when I bought my Yashi Sports branded thigh pad, when you bought your cricketing shoes from Yashi Sports. So you can use the code BP10, get 10% off. And if your order is $50 and up, you can also get free shipping.
100%. Thank you very much, Yashi Sports, for sponsoring this podcast. Sendwave as well for sponsoring this podcast. So we're nearly at the tail end of this podcast. It's a very quick one. Unfortunately, there's not much to talk about. I do want to specify one last thing. If another team or a couple more teams are added to this PSL in the next editions, or in the previous, or sorry, not previous, the future editions, I think the quality of the league has to go higher. I think at this point, the league is just there to facilitate the need of a league.
Did you see Ali Tarine's latest tweet?
Yes, I have. Let's talk about that.
He mentioned the PSL needs to go back to its old window, and the PSL needs to go from a draft model to an auction model so we can attract better talent.
Thoughts?
I think this window is decent just because you're not competing with other leagues for eyeballs or for players. And additionally, you have players that have signed up for the entire PSL. This has never happened in the past few years for the PSL. There's like, what's typically happened is players come in from the BPL halfway through, or they're playing the PSL and they go to the ILT20 or a different league altogether, or the IPL. And this time, because we have a competing window with the IPL, the players who were not picked in the IPL are here for the entire dates of the PSL. So teams can then strategize and make their plans accordingly because they know unless a player gets injured, they're not leaving.
How about
So I like that idea.
What about the November window?
November?
Because
Look,
December is like prime test season. There's like at least two Christmas and Boxing Day test matches happening. One in South Africa, one in Australia, and both of those 4 teams that are involved there, those are high class games. So nobody's gonna skip those for the PSL. I'm just trying to say if I were to follow Ali Tarine's logic here and be like, hey, maybe this window is not the best, that's the only time I'm thinking, because he suggested maybe a winter window, and November, December is when I'm thinking, because January, February is right back to peak season.
right. So November, wouldn't that be too close to like the May window? Just the PSL just finished in May, and you're gonna have it again in November, like within the span of 5 months.
I agree with you. I'm just shooting ideas here, bro. Trying to brainstorm with you.
I'm not sure. November, because it's also Pakistan's home season is that window, right? October,
I believe so.
November,
Yeah.
when it starts to cool down a bit. So are you willing to sacrifice a few home games for the PSL? And also November, December. December is when the Big Bash starts, I believe. And that's also when the BPL starts, like the end of December.
One thing I also have a problem with in his tweet is like he's mentioned names like Grant Sammy, Shane Watson, Monroe, and Rousseau. Half of those, well, Sammy excluded, maybe played in the Dubai leg of the PSL. Shane Watson never came to Pakistan, I believe,
2018 he did
for that one final.
for Quetta.
That's it. So it's not really the same comp.
And that was also like Shane Watson, who had retired a few years ago.
Yeah. So what you need to make your league relevant and exciting and just accessible to the normal fan is current players that are exciting.
And also just improving the entire fan experience of getting to the ground and watching a match. We had somebody comment recently that they went to watch one of the PSL matches in Lahore, and he mentioned, or I think they mentioned, that the experience of watching a match in Lahore wasn't too different than watching a match in Karachi. So even with the whole stadium renovations, the overall experience for the fans hasn't really improved.
I'm going to finish on this. This is probably the bottom line. Until and unless these owners and then the franchise owners, which is Mr. Ali Tareen, then the league owners take this sport seriously and take this league seriously, this will just keep happening. You can add as many teams as you want. The incompetence will reign high, and this league will basically run itself to the ground. And it'll be basically a Kashmir Premier League knockoff at the end of the day.
My experience with the PSL is that I think every team and the league itself is okay with mediocrity. And everybody just likes to wake up a month before the PSL, do the PSL, and then everybody goes into hibernation mode for the next 10 months. So if that's the sort of mindset that you have and you don't want to invest into the league in some sort of way, you can't expect to be competing with other teams or even just other leagues.
I totally agree. And
Leagues who have started after the PSL are doing a lot better than the PSL is now.
yeah, because they know how to throw a event, Machar. South Africa knows how to throw an event. They host some of the biggest artists in the world in their stadiums. India knows how to throw an event. They just had Ed Sheeran, Coldplay, you name it. Like all the big artists. Shawn Mendes was just there. They know how to host an event. We've forgotten the art of hosting events. It's not like we haven't done it. 96 World Cup was pretty successful. I think the final was in Lahore, actually. We've done it before. It's not that it's not like we haven't. It's just that how do we get back to that? That's the question.
And the argument that Pakistan stadiums are empty, I was watching some highlights of like old domestic matches, and this is like Karachi Dolphins versus Lahore Lions. Matches sold out. Like we have personally went to watch a Karachi Dolphins match in Karachi, and I kid you not, it was sold out. People had water bottles in their hands and they were banging them on the seats, and the noise was deafening. So what's happened in the past few years where a lot of our fans, I think, have checked out. I just met one of my childhood best friends for lunch on Sunday, and he said, firstly, he said that he loved me, and then he said he cursed me because I got him into cricket. He was not a cricket fan, and now he was saying that because he was so invested into the team, with the recent performances, he's just checked out.
Mm-hmm.
Pakistan losing, having 2 group exits in ICC tournaments, losing to the USA, not winning a home game in the Champions Trophy. All of that, I think, has just lowered the interest of the Pakistani people in cricket as well.
Yeah, that'll happen, man. And it's unfortunate that that's the case, but maybe that's a podcast for another day. Right now, Rizwan and Co find themselves at the bottom of the table.
Well, Rizwan at the top, run score.
That's the metric that we're judging this on, and we're tough. The Sultans find themselves at the bottom of the table, at the brink of collapse, at the brink of the exit, and there's nothing more to do but to watch this. The Riz go out, and then Bar following next.
Thank you to Yashi Sports. Thank you to Sendwave.
Thank you to the Patreon members. Everybody, the Patreon was so quiet today. Nobody really cared about this game. I was like, okay, I'm at the right here by not investing heavily into this game because 89 chased in 6 overs. Not much to say. No love lost. No love lost. No love found. No love lost. Cheers, Bashar.
Cheers.
Cheers.